Hello and good morning, everyone, and welcome to Primecast for December. If you've never watched one of these before, Primecast is a show, unlike our normal weekly shows, where we talk about a lot of upcoming exciting things for a variety of games and have special guests on that normally aren't part of our regular streaming schedule. This show in particular, you're going to want to watch. Oz is going to be on with me, who I know you see Oz and I almost every Wednesday. But we've got some exciting stuff to talk about the future of Monsterpocalypse, some exciting stuff about the future of Riot Quest, and then our very, very special guest, who was trying to throw me off by making faces at me just now behind the camera, Matt Wilson, who he can do whatever he wants to because he owns the company, is going to be on. We've got cool stuff to show you coming up for WARMACHINE, and Matt's going to talk a little bit about Warcaster. So if you're interested about the new game coming out in 2020, Warcaster, stay tuned, hang out for a little bit. First, we have some announcements to make, the usual things. Let's start with the stream schedule. So if this is the first time you're watching with us, we stream twice a week, Wednesday and Thursday, always. At 10 a.m. Pacific, Wednesdays is Dev Chat. Myself and Oz usually talk about CID and WARMACHINE, spoil rules for Riot Quest, new stuff for Monsterpocalypse. It's a fun show, and we are live on Facebook and Twitch, and we will often talk to you as much as we possibly can. We will also be doing the same during this show, so we will try and field questions throughout the show when we have time. On Thursdays is Get Your Paint On with Jordan Lamb, where Jordan paints the awesome miniatures we make. So if you want to learn hobby tips and tricks, that's the show to come and watch. Ask Jordan how to get that tricky white or red or whatever else you're trying to paint. There's two other shows we do semi-regularly. We have Staff Showdown, where we play the games we make. So if you want to watch live battle reports and cheer for your favorite staffers or boo your most hated staffers, that's the show to come watch. And then Hobby Hangout with either Brian McLaughlin or Danny Samuels. It didn't get canceled, no matter how hard Danny tried. So it looks like it'd be a permanent fixture now. And that's the show where they teach you how to do making terrain conversions or even just simple assembly tricks, the proper way to clean a miniature and things like that. Speaking of streaming on Twitch, do want to let everyone know, subscriptions are now available, and I see right now on Twitch chat we have people subbing live. Thank you very much. When you sub, you unlock several different emotes, and as we get more subs, we will unlock more emotes. Our next sub goal is 120 subs. When we get there, the Riot Quest loot coin will be the next one. Let's talk about Mini Crate real fast. So, if you're joining us for the first time, we have a monthly subscription service where you can get miniatures sent to your doorstep every month. And if you do a 6-month sub, you actually get a VIP model. For the main line, mini-crate.com, the current model right now is the Disco Infernal, an alternate Infernal Dark Sentinel. And if you sign up for 6 months, you get 2 of the VIP Trancer Dancers, an alternate Trancer for you Crucible Guard fans. Over on the Legend of the Five Rings line, Mirumoto Prodigy is available and is only available until my birthday, December 5th, which is this Thursday. So if you're wanting to get Mirumoto Prodigy, you have until my birthday to wish me happy birthday and to order this model. Now, there is a new VIP. It just switched over, Tengu Sensei. That one's available till May 5th. We like angels. We've been making a lot of them recently, so if you want a cool angel model, you can get one with a 6-month sub. It shows up in your next shipment. Over on the Robert E. Howard Savage Mini Crate, my favorite miniature we've put out in quite some time, the Serpent Man is available, and again, only till December 12th. So time is running out on that one. Make sure you order it as soon as you can. And also, January is coming up, which January 12th is the last date for Conan on the Throne, which has been the VIP model. So if you want to get your Conan on the Throne, make sure you pick that up. A couple more things to announce. We have a sale going on right now. There is a Black Friday sale lasting until this Friday, where as you purchase more, you get more money off. But there's also some special things available on the website right now, and you can go find everything at store.privateerpress.com, where you can make your orders. First and foremost, there's a special new set of miniatures and gear cards for Riot Quest, the Grind Set, the Grindoverse Grind Set. There's going to be an upcoming expansion for Riot Quest, which is going to introduce gear cards that put physical models into the arena. Things like turrets, wormholes, and so on and so forth. And the Grind Set is your first sneak peek at how those mechanics work. An introduction to a type of gear you can equip to hero and suddenly have a pillar just pop up out of nowhere, or summon a grind ball from the Grindoverse into play and start rolling it around the arena. Now, mystery boxes, they've been popular every year, and this year is no exception. In fact, last number I heard, we've gone through 70%, actually over 70% of what we have available. So these could run out. Every mystery box is $60, and it has at least $200 of War Machine and Hordes product and $100 of Privateer Press merch. Some boxes have more than $200 of War Machine and Hordes product. So you might get really, really lucky, open it up, and find all kinds of stuff in there. These are not based off a single faction like some mystery boxes have been in the past. These are a mix of different things. So you are guaranteed to get models for a variety of factions whenever you open up your box. I think that's all the main announcements, huh, Tony? Let's get into the segments, shall we? So the first thing I want to talk to everyone about is what's coming out this month and in January at your local stores, and show you any concept art or renders we have of models that are going to be showing up very, very soon for you to pick up, or go talk to your local store about pre-ordering. So in December for War Machine and Hordes, the Morrowind Battle Priest is finally hitting stores, which has been very popular. When we first released the alt sculpt at WTC, a ton of people started playing with it. If you're looking for cheap shield guards, and if you're playing Flames of the Darkness or any other Signa army that can take these, you're going to want to grab at least 3. Speaking of Morrowinds and those fighting the Infernals, Glenn Cormier, the Illuminated one, is also hitting in December. But if you're not feeling like being a good guy and you'd rather murder the world and you're an Infernals player, we've got the Griever Swarm, the Howlers, and my favorite evil princess of all time, Regna Gravnoy. She is probably my favorite concept art that came out of that entire thing. She is just a classic Disney villain. I want her to find some princess and give her an evil apple. Over on Monsterpocalypse, a bunch of stuff that we just previewed recently is coming out, and that's mainly going to be some new Pterosaur and some new Martian Menace models. So first off, Pterodax is coming out. Pterodax is going to be supported by, oh wait, I forgot we're doing this in a different order. We're going to do the next monster next. Bring out Tharsis 5, Tony. The weirdest looking Martian monster we've ever put out. But Pterodax is going to be supported by Bellowers and Pterodactyls, and Tharsis is being supported by Reapers and Harvesters. So there's 2 new unit packs. First off, you've got the Reapers and Harvesters right there. And then you have them little chunky boys, the Bellowers for the Pterosaurs, and the new Pterodactyls that comes in the set. Really, both of them are adding a lot of fun tricks to both these factions. Movement tricks for the Pterosaurs with the toe ability, and even the fling on the Bellowers blast attack. And then over on the Martian side, you've got a lot of new tech, especially like building and repair related tech. Also, Harvesters have manufacturer on a unit, which is just really strong. So I think both of these factions are picking up a lot of depth in just these releases this month. Over on Riot Quest side, coming out on the 13th this month, we have Destructotron 3000, which is finally coming out. Probably the most straightforward and devastating gunner in the entire set. Master Gurglepox is finally getting everyone's favorite lunatic riding a bone jack with his giant saw. And the treasure chest expansion is coming, which is going to include Flugwug, 6 physical treasure chests, and a brand new treasure deck to play in your games. January is coming up, obviously next month, and there's a lot of fun stuff coming out, and I don't know that everyone has seen all of these. So first, for War Machine and Hordes, the Legion of Lost Souls will finally be out. We showed these models off, I want to say about 2 months ago with Jordan. They are just classic, iconic undead. These models are so great. I can't wait to get a couple units, and then a few more units to buy beyond just what I'm going to play in War Machine and Hordes, but to use in RPGs. Like, these are just great undead to run in anything you use them for. The Order of Illumination Resolutes are coming out, which are some of the sickest looking medium-based infantry we've put out in a long, long time. These big dudes in, like, let's just call it Holy Man of War armor. It's not Man of War armor, obviously. It uses different technology, but it's Holy Man of War armor with their giant guns. Like, these guys are so, like, sci-fi, anime, fantasy. They're just cool. And I really want to see the paint jobs people do, because in the Oblivion set, there's a spread that has these models and different like paint schemes with different names for different squad types and backgrounds for them. And some of them are really cool, the black and gold being my favorite. So waiting for these guys to come out and people finally get their hands on them and start painting them up. The Thamorite Advocate, speaking of great looking villains, is also coming out this month. So whether you're playing her in War Machine or Hordes, or you just need an evil vampire for your RPGs, the Thamorite Advocate is fantastic. Level 7 has some new releases. This is based off the most recent Kickstarter that just happened. The second edition of Level 7 and Extreme Prejudice are both coming out this month. So if you missed your chance at getting a Mega Protocol and Extreme Prejudice, you can pick them up in January. If you are a fan of dungeon crawlers, especially the one versus many side, where one person plays an overlord and everyone else is playing commandos to try and fight against them, where there's a series of missions and a storyline you get to play through, this is that kind of dungeon crawler. And these are the great things that you can get with your friends, play once or twice a week, have a regular game night. So if you missed your chance at the Kickstarter, if you missed it when it came out originally, a Mega Protocol and the expansion, the second editions, are going to be in stores. Monsterpocalypse time. Let's show some weird stuff, Tony. Steel shell crabs and Psy eel are both going to come out. These are Triton units. So Krakenoctus was the first Triton monster that came out. He didn't have any other Tritons with him. And he was your first sort of preview at a new faction coming. Well, now we're finally seeing some units for this. So the steel shell crabs and the Psy eel will be the first unit dropping for them. Then similarly, you had Hammerclack, woo! Almost forgot for a second. Hammerclack for Subterrans as the first monster. And again, he didn't have any units, but a unit is coming out for him this month as well. The Moloch Brutes and the Moloch Berserker. So if you're looking for some giant sea monsters or you're looking for some giant evil molemen, now's your chance to add on. Now, speaking of monsters that don't have units for them yet, but are sort of your first look at upcoming factions, Incinerus is also coming out in January, which is the first of the Elemental Champions monsters for Monsterpocalypse. A giant sort of primal avatar of fire and a protector. Of course, we can't make a new protector monster without there also being a new destroyer monster. We don't want anyone to feel left out. So Zizarax is coming out, the first Savage Swarm monster coming out. No units for it just yet, but there's a lot of good stuff coming. Hopefully, Oz will make my giant bee, but I know that he won't because he's told me he won't. Over on Riot Quest, we have 2 brand new models coming out in January as well, 2 new heroes. You're going to see Dr. Stygius releasing. Dr. Stygius is a specialist hero who excels in healing his friends, at least helping them fight a little bit better. Then over on the Warmachine Horde side, you could play this model as a Warcaster attachment for Cephalex. We'll actually be previewing more of his rules on one of the upcoming dev chats. Then also Scythe is coming out. Thanks, Tony. I got you, boo. A new gunner who has the longest range. I actually just showed her rules on social media. If you go to the Riot Quest Facebook general group, you can take a look at her card right now. But we're talking more about her as well on the dev chat, as well as her absolutely absurd Warmachine and Hordes rules on an upcoming dev chat. I think actually next week. Yeah, Tony?
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds right. Because I think we're doing Riot Quest next week for dev chat, Warmachine this week, and Monsterpocalypse the week before Christmas. All right, we have gotten through all the models hitting people's stores this month and next month. So go check your LGS, ask them if they're getting it in. If they're not, ask them if they can order some for you, if they can put some aside. A lot of really good, exciting models coming up. But enough of me talking by myself in the black void. Let's get our first guest on, someone who is normally not on stream, and I know you don't see very much, Big Papa Oz. Oz, get on here. It's my boss. God, I have both my bosses in the room today.
Yeah, like that you don't normally see me on stream statement then.
Yeah, well.
Completely accurate. I'm hardly ever in this room. Ever. All the time.
How was your Thanksgiving?
Lazy.
Did you have Thanksgiving?
No, I have no family anywhere near here, so I just stayed home and did nothing. We, ate some pie and pizza and played video games and did nothing. It was great.
We had a big gathering.
I know.
With 25 people.
I don't want to gather. I don't want to do that.
So you've got some new stuff about Monsterpocalypse to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Now these are things coming out in 2020, and
one of them much sooner than the other ones.
Yeah, and these are totally new things that no one has any idea is coming, right?
Well, we've teased all 3 of these things in certain regards, but we haven't said really specific things about some of them.
Let's get really specific then. Okay. So what is the first thing you want to kind of let everyone know about?
The first thing that we're going to do is, in the spring, we're going to release a cooperative Monsterpocalypse product that is 2 players fighting against an AI deck-controlled monster.
Okay.
So we've been talking a little bit about that kind of stuff in a very abstract way, but now we're talking about the specifics. It's coming out in March, and it is a product that includes a new monster for a new faction.
Ooh! Now this monster is playable in standard 1v1 games?
Playable, regular Monpoc release.
Okay.
Has a stat card just like a regular monster. But as part of this thing, it comes with a monster that you can play with it if you don't have a very big collection. But the other thing about this AI cooperative thing is you can use any monster you want as the villain.
Oh, cool.
So the villain is controlled by a deck of cards, and the deck of cards moves the villain around and has it make different attacks and do different things like that.
Does it use the monster stats of the monster you decide to use the villain?
It does.
Cool.
So if you want to play with Gala Maxis, the evil space dragon that comes in the set, you can do that. But you can also...
wait, hold on, what?
Gala Maxis, the evil space dragon that comes in that set.
Do people know Gala Maxis?
No, they don't. But we're going to show a little bit more about Gala Maxis.
You can't just drop that on people.
Yeah, we can. That's how we do things.
Tony, do we have anything on Gala Maxis? Okay.
But it's in a second. Yeah,
okay.
We'll get there. Anyway, so if we've been playtesting, we just playtested last week with Tony, and we played Sky Sentinel and Defender X versus Gorgadra as the villain. So
cool.
You can play any monster as the bad guy,
including Gala Maxis.
And if you have if you have a very, very small collection and you don't have a bad guy, certain monsters won't work as well if they're very action oriented. I'm doubting Ares' Mothership will be the most captivating villain because Ares has a bunch of shenanigans that she does.
Yeah, sure.
But someone like Gorgadra or somebody more straightforward, like the way we're building Gala Maxis, is a much more appropriate villain for it. But you can play against anything you want, with anything you want. And
are certain monsters harder than others? Just
yes.
Is Armadax the hardest villain you can fight against?
No, not necessarily. Because Gorgadra does super damage on every attack in hyper mode.
Right.
So Gorgadra is more dangerous in hyper mode. But the other thing about it is you can tune the difficulty.
Okay.
Because the main thing that makes the monster extra hard to kill is it comes with a secondary health card that adds bonus health to the core thing.
Got it.
So you'll set your regular stat card out, and then you'll set out the bonus stat card health. That right now we're testing with up to 12 additional health. We play tested most of the games with 6 extra health per side. But that seems to be the main line of difficulty. So I just upped the number to 12, and we're going to play some games with a whole lot of health to see what that is. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to get published with 12 bonus health being the option.
It's testing.
But we're testing it right now.
Okay, so there's a PvE expansion coming out, a co-op.
Yes.
Now, could one person play this by themselves? Could you solitaire this if you wanted to?
Yes, one person can play it, but it's set up to be a team game. Because the other thing that makes it hard is you take a turn and I take a turn back and forth, and we do it just like normal, either units or monsters.
Okay.
We share our unit pool.
Okay.
So any units that are on the table or in the reserve, you can spawn when you take a unit turn.
Okay.
Either player. But every time one of us takes a turn, we draw a card to see what the villain does. So the villain is activating more often than a regular kind of game. But also the villain's a little dumb because you can't program a perfect AI that can outsmart you that well.
Yeah.
But that means we're making the deck really, really scary and dangerous.
Okay.
And the cool thing about the game in that regard is you can have multiple cards chain off each other. Sometimes it might just say the villain attacks you.
Sure.
But sometimes it might say the villain does a giant stomp that kills every unit within 3 spaces of it, and then it runs over and does something else, and it knocks the building down and heals itself, and then it punches you in the face.
Cool.
So there could be a whole lot of fun replayability in exactly what monster you pick as the villain, and then how that deck plays out during the game.
Now, so you dropped the bomb about 5 minutes ago of Gala Maxis.
Yeah.
And I assume you said Space Dragon.
Evil Space Dragon.
Evil Space Dragon. Are there good Space Dragons?
There are good Space Dragons. So
are there new factions coming?
Yes. Back at Lock and Load, I teased that there were good guys and bad guys coming in the summer, and that they were evil Russians of some sort and Space Dragons.
Okay.
Space Dragons are good guys.
Okay. I thought you said Gala Maxis is an evil Space Dragon.
Gala Maxis is an evil Space Dragon.
Who works for evil Russians?
No, he doesn't work for any of those people. He has a brand new faction that we're not going to announce today.
Oh, go on.
So he's a super tease of a completely brand new faction coming out in the far future.
Oh. But we have two factions that are not
two
him.
brand new factions that are coming out. Sir. So are the good guys the first words you're going to put on there, Tony? You're going to put all of them up at once?
I can do however you want.
Okay, put the good guys up. So the Draken Armada is the space dragons that are the good guys.
Okay.
So these are giant sci-fi dragons.
Mm-hmm. They come from space.
As they're monsters, and they're from space. And then the Armada part of it is, they're from, and I found this out recently when I was doing research, did you know that there's a dwarf galaxy that orbits the Milky Way called the Draco Galaxy?
Dude, I'm from Louisiana.
Anyway, there's a small dragon-themed galaxy that orbits ours, so that's where these guys are from. So there's an entire galaxy of dragon stuff out there.
Okay.
And the Armada of these guys are fleets of things sent out on basically a crusade against planet eaters.
Okay.
So at some point, the planet eaters hit the place where the Draken Armada is from and really messed it up. And Gala Maxis was their tragic hero that died saving them, and then got zombified by something out there in dark, evil space. So we'll show him in a second, and you'll see what I mean.
Okay, so Draken Armada is a new protector faction.
Yes, so these are protectors, and in addition to having giant dragons as their monsters, they are getting dragon people
Sure.
and other dragon animal type stuff as their units. So they're going to have like armored dragon men with like laser blasters and stuff as part of their units. And they're also going to have like wyverns and like dragon dogs and that kind of stuff as their units.
This sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what's the counter? So what's the other faction?
So the other faction is the Zerkalo block. So
I'm sorry, one more time?
Zerkalo block.
Zerkalo block.
Zerkalo is the Russian word for mirror.
Okay, so these are evil space Russians?
No, they're evil extra-dimensional Russians.
Go on.
So imagine a darker version of our world where during the Cold War, Russia won.
Okay.
And discovered some sort of dimension-hopping technology.
Okay.
And then started conquering other versions of Earth.
Okay.
So the Zerkalo block has a vast empire of alternate Earths that they've conquered, and now they show up on ours, not knowing the Monsterpocalypse is happening.
Got it.
So they open weird portals onto our dimension, stomp in with their giant factory monster robot or whatever.
Right. It's like an episode of Quantum Leap gone
It's
really
a little
wrong.
bit like Sliders.
Okay.
And stuff, yeah. So these guys are kind of, the way I explained it to Matt when I was talking about concepting is like, I wanted Evil Guard. I want a human military force that uses human-shaped robots, but they're the bad guys instead of the good guys.
Right. To keep them distinct from Ubercorp International.
Yeah.
Which are
So Ubercorp
evil guys that use monster-shaped robots.
Ubercorp is driving robots around, but they're driving robots around that look like monsters.
Yeah.
These things are much more like people.
Okay.
Okay? So they're going to have big people-shaped robots.
Okay.
One of them I'm calling the Battleship right now, and I imagine he has like a turret for a head or whatever. The concepting on this stuff is a little ways out. We'll show you concepts during dev chats and stuff when we get closer.
Okay.
And then they're going to have like a little portal machine unit.
Yeah.
And some other stuff like that.
To blink in reinforcements from alternate realities.
They're also, I haven't play tested 100% yet, but sacrifice is going to be one of their themes.
Okay.
And one of their units is basically a walking missile that can sacrifice itself to hit you harder.
Okay.
But
so
then
like the Explodo-Hawk kind of thing.
A little bit like a ranged Explodo-Hawk. But they're also going to have a factory robot monster and little portal tanks and stuff. So they're going to be bringing in those guys cheaper and easier than
we're going to see both these factions in 2020.
Yes, they are basically the summer releases that follow kind of the same pattern as Empire of the Apes and Ubercorp did this last summer.
Got it.
So you're probably going to see the Draken Armada around Lock and Load, and then you're probably going to see the Zerkalo block around Gen Con. But no promises on release dates and schedules and all that stuff.
So now, to tie that all together, you mentioned that Gala Maxis is another faction.
Gala Maxis is a new faction.
But before we show...
But before, we're gonna tease people like forever and ever.
No, before we show Gala Maxis, there's something that I just wanted... people that missed their chance at Sgt Titanica, who was the RAM model at Gen Con this year.
Which we also had at Warfare Weekend.
Which also had at Warfare Weekend.
It's a con exclusive, so it does come back at certain conventions.
The regular sculpt, the retail sculpt of Titanica is about to come out, and people haven't seen the concept art of what regular Titanica looks like. So we're going to throw that up on the screen real fast for those of you that didn't get the beer guzzling Titanica.
Yeah.
You can pick up Sgt Titanica,
Yeah.
who's coming out in 2020.
Yeah, Sgt Titanica is another release that's coming out in the spring alongside Globicus, the blob monster. It's a brand new faction too. But this is normal Sgt Titanica, also standing on a U-tank, which people have seen in.
What is it? Those bandoliers?
She's got lots of stuff going on. She was enlarged in some sort of crazy sci-fi experiment.
Yeah.
And certain elements of her enlarged alongside that.
Like her pants?
Like her pants.
Okay.
But she's also swinging around at the top of a Tokyo Triumph tower.
Nice. So those bandoliers could have been normal bullets that are now just gigantic bullets.
Yeah, she could have gigantic bullets.
Okay. All right. So you said it way too early. Let's go ahead.
No, I didn't say it way too early. I teased it.
So this is the
That's
monster
marketing.
coming in the PvE
Yes.
co-op box. Brand new faction, playable in Monpot, Gala Maxis. Tony, I haven't even seen this thing yet. I'm excited to see what Gala Maxis looks like.
Yeah. So also keep in mind, Gala Maxis is a destroyer, and this is not 100% what the good guy space dragons are going to look like.
Whoa.
So Gala Maxis started out in the story, his life as like the king of the space dragons.
Keep talking. I'm just looking at this thing.
When the Planet Eaters swept through the Draco galaxy, he, did a super heroic thing and died, fighting them off, saving his people.
Yeah.
And then his body drifted off into the dark depths of space.
Yeah.
And something found him and re-engineered him a bit with, jet wings and things.
And a scorpion tail?
And a scorpion tail of some sort. And he's come back, like, horrific and terrifying to destroy everything.
Yeah, no, horrific and terrifying is exactly what I would describe that thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's got like scything arms.
Yeah, it's got big scything arms.
Bio-organic jetpacks. It's a crazy face.
Yeah. It's got a chest full of teeth.
Chest full of teeth.
Yeah.
And a scorpion tail.
Yeah, and a big old crazy tail.
He is not built for hugs. He is built for destruction only.
Certain kinds of hugs.
Oh.
So we have not announced what faction Gala Maxis is for, and all that. A lot of faction planning happens in a slow kind of grow thing. So he's the very first teaser of some horrible evilness out there in space that like zombifies stuff.
Cool. So let's move on from Monsterpocalypse, and we got a couple of quick things we want to talk about Riot Quest. Now, Tony, I don't know, you don't have anything to throw up on the screen right now, so this is just us going to be talking for a second. A lot of people have been asking what's coming up for Riot Quest, and there's been all these new heroes coming up. We've had the new expansions, the Spawn Gate expansion, the Treasure expansion. We mentioned the gear expansions coming. We want to lay out what's going to happen kind of over the next several years for Riot Quest and give people an idea of what's to come. So a big question people have been having for Riot Quest is, why isn't there another starter? There's only the one starter. Is there going to be another starter? And the answer is, there's going to be a starter at the beginning of each Riot Quest block. So that'll probably be Gen Con every year. And we are doing thematic blocks for Riot Quest. So this first block is the Mayhem block. It's sort of the core block.
Yeah, it's the introducing you to the Saturday morning cartoon that is Riot Quest.
Yes.
Letting you get a handle on who the characters are and like what the gameplay is like and the basics of the game.
But like every good Saturday morning cartoon, you have seasons that take place in other areas.
Oh yeah.
So this Gen Con, you're going to see the next starter set come out that has totally different characters and is the beginning of the Wintertime Wasteland block, which is going to introduce all new heroes, all new expansions. And that block is going to last from Gen Con to Gen Con 2021. Then there'll be another starter that's going to be a brand new block in a completely different theme, and we're going to keep doing this. And the reason we're doing this sort of block releases, that you're probably going to see 20 to 30-ish heroes per block, is for organized play. So we're going to eventually introduce, starting next Gen Con, two different formats, Standard and Mayhem. And what that's going to do is Standard is only the current block. So you can only play whatever the current starter is and all the models that have been released since. And Mayhem is everything for Riot Quest ever. This is because, there's over 30 miniatures coming out in the first block, and we don't want people jumping in, say, 2 years from now into Riot Quest to suddenly be like, there is a million things.
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
When we know we're having this aggressive of a release schedule, we want to kind of keep things segmented so people can jump in very easy.
Yeah.
So
and for tournament organizers, you want to give people that intro spot where they can just be like, well, I've just owned 7 things.
Yes.
What am I going to have to play against? And people can be like, oh, well, only the things from the last months, not the last decade or whatever eventually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the Wintertime Wasteland set all takes place in the north of Khador and Rule, what's left of it. Mm-hmm. And it is,
I imagine that the dwarves held out better than other people because they're like, they've got fortresses and
that's a lot of what this is going to
Things like
explore. The new starter set, since the core of the Mayhem starter set is good guys. It is the good guy team. It's Dreyfus and Eris. This is going to be a bad guy team. So you're going to see a new Boomhowler. Mm-hmm. You're going to see a new Bella.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have 3 completely brand new characters with them in the starter. This will have a new map, new bounties, new treasure cards, new gear cards, all that kind of cool stuff.
And also, are you teasing things like characters changing classes when they become second versions?
A couple things I want to tease.
Yeah.
So it is possible when there's another version that you're going to see them change classes in Riot Quest, like you just mentioned. Just because Bella was a fighter, like Black Bella is a fighter, doesn't mean that Stone Cold Black Bella is a fighter as well. Just because Boomhowler solo artist was a gunner, it doesn't mean Boomhowler the Destroyer is a gunner.
Yeah.
And we're going to be able to do a lot of really, really fun things. But we're also going to introduce tag team characters.
Yeah, this is one of the things I'm pretty excited about.
So not every character is going to get a second version, but in some cases they're going to show up working together.
Yeah.
And because Riot Quest, everything is just a single hero, we, for example, are going to introduce in the second season in Wintertime Wasteland, Dez and Gubbin, the Dynamite Duo. And this is Dez holding a mortar, firing Gubbin out of it, who is dropping bombs on people.
Yeah.
They'll be on a large base.
More explosions was the only way that Gubbin was going to come back into the game was with even more explosions.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so this counts as one hero when you play, but we're going to introduce tag teams, which is just 2 characters you're familiar with on a single base working together.
And the wolf with no name on skis is what the chat is asking for. So
Well,
get that handled.
You'll see a few of the characters that existed previously, but we also
Yeah.
want to do completely new characters. Like one of the new characters you'll see is Bulkhead, who is a Man-O-War breacher with a sawed-off shotgun, like Man-O-War style and stuff like that. And there's going to be a lot of like very winter fallout. Like take Radioactive, take Wintertime, smash them together, put a layer of Saturday morning cartoon over it, dip it in sugar, the next block.
Yeah.
So we're looking excited for that. And then, of course, at the Gen Con after that in 2021, you're going to see the next theme start, which will be completely different than winter themed. And we're going to keep going with Riot Quest in this manner so that people can jump on at any time, have a standard block of heroes they can jump and start playing.
Yep.
And then those that are in from day one and who pick up everything, you can play games that are Mayhem format and just have it all at your disposal. So that should be very exciting. We look forward to showing some more models pretty soon. But speaking of new stuff, I think it's time for me to ask you to move, Oz.
Goodbye.
So that the big man himself can come on Primecast, because we're at to behave myself. Let me introduce, please, Chief Creative Officer, owner, the guy who made Warmachine, Matt Wilson. Come on, Matt.
Good morning.
So calm and collected.
I'm really amused right now because I was just reading the comments and somebody suggested a Manowarian with a Gubbin baby.
Oh, God. Matt,
That tickles me to no end.
I do just want to say, and sometimes we talk about things in pop culture on this show.
Yeah.
I would die for Baby Yoda.
I would too.
Just,
I don't know anybody who wouldn't.
if you told me it was Tony or him, I would kill Tony right now.
I will shut this show down right now.
Yeah, just to make sure that's clear to everybody.
It's little Baby Yoda is so adorable that even Sherry watches the show.
Wow.
And she's not really into that stuff.
Yeah.
So, but she's like watching it, and Sherry's my wife, also the president of the company. She's a real pet person.
Yeah.
Right. She's got a lot of pets. I hate pets, but she loves them, and so we're surrounded with them. And she was watching Mandalorian, and she goes, she sees Baby Yoda, and she says, "I need one of those."
Well,
So
I'm sure the merch is coming out soon.
That's how good it is.
Yeah. So let's talk about a lot of exciting stuff coming up,
Yeah,
right?
let's see what we're talking
so
about.
First we want to talk about, people saw some brand new stuff that was definitely outside of the limits of what people were expecting. That was the new Aurora 2 that was coming out, but that was accompanied by Asphyxious the Sanctified and Artificer Prime Nemo, which Tony will have up on the screen any second now. Cool.
Can we see it on the screen? Oh, we can see it. We have a screen.
We're having technical
I've never
issues.
done this.
Oh, you never done this?
I've never been on
Yeah, we can see. We have the screen here, and we have the
live
chat
stream.
screen. We have the
Yeah.
chat screen right there.
I've got a face for radio, so I haven't been on that.
But
podcast.
so anyway, we're having technical issues. So these new things come out, and people were definitely like taken back by these. They've never seen anything like it. Do you want to speak to anything of where the idea first came from for Nemo to transition from being the lovable old man we know into a giant floating ball, and Asphyxious transforming from this evil lich who's been like a core villain for so long to now one of the heroes?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is we're always trying to do stuff that surprises people, right? Like we don't want people to guess what's going to happen next. We want to try and show you something that is that you were not expecting but are happy to see.
Yeah.
And so part of designing this next block with the different convergence characters was like, what can we do that is just so far out there that no one would see it coming? And then the other part of it is that in the Oblivion story arc, where one of the big themes is the enemy of my enemy
is my friend, yeah.
right? And so we're bringing things together that historically are arch enemies. For those who have followed the fiction, there's a link between Aurora and Nemo that some people know about. I'm not going to spoil it, but if you followed the fiction, then you have a good idea of what it is. Asphyxious doesn't have a link, but there is as we'll see in some of the upcoming fiction that we're going to explore, the Infernals threaten what Crix wants, right?
Okay.
And so if the Infernals win, right, and take half the souls of humanity or decimate humanity, Crix has nothing to work with.
Crix is out of luck.
And so that means that Asphyxious and his allies, right, need to do something about it. So Crix is as opposed to the infernal threat as
anyone
Signar,
else.
right? So so we get to see them working together. Now, how does that explain his shiny new
Body.
kit, right? That's something that we'll reveal soon.
Well, and you mentioned something that it comes up on chat a lot, people are hungry for, is fiction. And you said we're going to mention it in the upcoming fiction. So before we talk about the fiction that's coming, I do want to talk about something that just happened, which was Stormbreak. So for people that have missed it, the Acts of War storyline just finished up. This is the one, Acts of War 3 Stormbreak, that really deals with the end of the Lely's war that's been going on for so long in Warmachine. And it all culminated in a series of events that players got to play and actually kind of influenced which ways things went. The Skyship narrative we did at Lock and Load was a big part of this.
Yeah.
Now, for everybody watching, we're going to talk about some major spoilers. So,
Are we?
we want to ask you something.
Okay.
So, if you don't want to hear a major spoiler, I
do this.
I want you to mute for 30 seconds.
Until
okay?
we give you the thumbs up.
So I want you to mute for 30 seconds until I give the thumbs up. So 5, 4, 3, 2. Big spoilers coming. You killed Stryker.
He's done.
Like dead.
Yep.
How does that make you feel, man?
Now no one can accuse me of favoritism anymore.
So was Stryker one of several heroes on the chopping block based on the way the events went?
Yeah, absolutely. We had Magnus and Stryker were both on the Signar side, we had Urisk and Strakov on the Kador side, and depending on how things played out at Lock and Load in the narrative event, we knew that we would be offing somebody from that, and to be honest, it played out the way that I was hoping to, because
I'm gonna give the thumbs up now. Turn your volume back up.
all right, I just make sure that we
won't say
won't say
anything
any spoilers, but I will say that it brought the live event and how it played out informed how the story went, and it brought that Acts of War story arc to a very dramatic conclusion. Yeah. And
are you happy with the end?
I'm super happy with the end, and I'll probably embarrass myself here a little bit, but I worked with Aaron Rudell throughout the whole Acts of War series, and we would work on an outline together, and then he'd write the piece, and each chapter, that's how it went. This last one took a little longer than expected. He wrote far more than we expected, which was wonderful, because he was able to go into a lot more detail with things. And I knew the story going into reading his the final chapter when he turned in his first draft, and it was one of the most perfect things I've ever read for our fiction, and there were at least 2 times where I literally teared up, like reading it. It was a very emotional.
That's nothing to be embarrassed about. That's good, right?
I got a hair trigger, but
it's better than reading it and being like, meh, right? Like to have an emotional response is good.
It was great. It was a fantastic conclusion, and and there's a lot of action through the whole Stormbreak series, right? Through like each of those chapters, it's very action oriented. There's big battles and great scenes, and that is still all in the last chapter, in chapter 4. And it just, it lands. It lands really well.
Now, people that have been reading it have been loving it. And there's been only one thing I've heard people mention. And these are people that followed the narrative event. They kept asking where Admiral Carver was. Because in the narrative event, Carver jumped in the pilot ship and he crashed it. Now, obviously, in the fiction, we can't just have Carver show up out of nowhere. Like, there has to be consistency, right? But do we want to say anything about
Admiral Carver?
Admiral Carver? So we know that the Admiral Carver thing went over like gangbusters, and to this day people are mentioning it because they read Stormbreak and they're asking where he was. So an upcoming mini crate model that we're releasing is going to be an alternate version of Lord Carver. It's going to be the first alternate Pharaoh Warlock we've done, and it's going to be Admiral Carver. We don't have concept art to show you right now. We'll be showing it in the near future, but Admiral Carver is coming, and we're paying a little tribute to the actions the players took at Lock and Load, because we know that was such a huge draw and how much people were laughing their butts off the whole time. So we did not forget about that part of it for all of you. Speaking of stuff coming up for fiction, so all of Stormbreak is available right now for free on our website. You can go find it. But people want more.
Yeah.
They want more. And there's going to be a new way we're going to deliver some fiction here soon, right?
Yes. We're experimenting with a new format, and this is actually something that Aaron introduced me to while we were working on the last chapter of Acts of War, Stormbreak, and it's called microfiction.
Okay.
And so basically, microfiction gets published through a Twitter feed. And it's sort of a daily dose of fiction told in 280 characters or less.
Okay.
Now, I have found that to be almost impossible.
Okay.
Because when you, it's very easy to overwrite. It's really hard to underwrite. And so when we do this, most days we'll probably have 2 or 3 entries that will tell a scene or something, and so we're hoping this is going to launch here in the next week or so, as we're putting the final polish on it, and it's going to be at twitter.com/hengehold scroll.
Okay.
And so the Hengehold scroll is sort of the prophecy as told by the Hermit of Hengehold.
Right.
And in this, he is narrating his visions for the future of the Iron Kingdoms, and which I think in his words, he says the last days as we know it. And so what we'll see in this microfiction is sort of vignettes and scenes with various different characters, different factions that kind of create the storyline that picks up. Actually, it fills in a little bit between Stormbreak and Oblivion.
Okay.
Right, because we're totally out of sync in our storytelling. And so this is going to kind of fill in some gaps and then pick up the Oblivion storyline
And go from there.
where it left off, right? And so we'll fill that stuff in. We'll get more information about these upcoming Convergence characters.
Okay.
The Aurora and
Like how Asphyxia's got a robot body, maybe?
how Asphyxia's got a robot body. That will be told through this series. And so if you go to that Twitter feed right now, if you go to Hengehold Scroll, you can follow it, but there is nothing there.
Yeah.
It is like a blank, empty room.
It's launching, you said, like a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, probably next week or the week after. Like I said, we're putting some polish on the whole thing.
Cool.
But then after that, after it launches, every day there will be an entry. So you just go and spend 30 seconds. You get your daily dose of.
It's like an advent
interactions.
calendar.
It's kind of like an advent calendar, but it's just going to keep going,
Right.
and going and going, and the storyline, which will be finite. It's not a forever thing. The storyline will end in a place that leads into the narrative event at Lock and Load.
Okay. And that's something we can mention real fast is
Yeah.
that at Lock and Load, which is, first off, it's our 20th anniversary.
20th anniversary.
So the 2020 Lock and Load is the 20th anniversary of Privateer Press.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
The end of the days.
It's
It's
like
like,
we
the stars are aligning in some weird way, and I don't know what's going to happen. Are gateways going to open?
Let's hope.
So it's our 20th anniversary. We're going to have a narrative event that's going to tie into all this microfiction. Also, we're going to have a War Machine League between now and Lock and Load that this microfiction is going to sort of weave through.
Yeah. Weave through, dovetail, all those things.
Yeah. So that's going to be really exciting. But speaking of fiction and where things are going, so also on Twitter, we did those contests a while back where it was like this character versus this character, this character versus this character, back and forth, right?
March Madness, right?
And Ashlyn won.
Yes.
And Ashlyn has been a key character in the Stormbreak fiction. She's the hero of Lael. Mm-hmm. So at Lock and Load last year, to sort of tie all these strings together, you had a live concepting class for Ashlyn 2, who we're finally going to see come out, and I believe she's coming out this March.
Yes.
She's only a few months away. So Tony, do you want to pull her up real fast?
And there's a little bit of backstory there too, right?
So
we did the live stream, or the live concepting at Lock and Load. Mm-hmm. And when we originally put Ashlyn on our schedule, the concept, the game concept was that she was going to be a cavalry.
Yeah, she was a Cavcaster with like a huge Lely's banner, like charging. But now,
and we went into the live concepting session at Lock and Load, which has become my favorite event there. Mm-hmm. And we put that idea out to all the folks that were attending, and there was some people thought, oh, that's kind of neat, but there was several people made the suggestion that sort of was departing too far from what her idiom really is as a duelist, mm-hmm. right? And they made some recommendations that maybe she stays with the in that sort of duelist vein, and they suggested things that we had published back in No Quarter a while back. Her father had this great sword, and you can see it there in the concept artwork. You can see how there's some similarities between her original sword, and then this sword.
Yeah.
And
Quick Twitch question. Somebody asked, Subadite asked, is she still a Morrowind? Yes, she has not given up the ways of Morrow, especially not when demons are coming out everywhere and trying to take people's souls.
No,
yeah.
she's still a good guy.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so obviously she has no horsey,
But she picked up some other friends.
but she picked up some other friends, and so she becomes a Warcaster unit.
Yes. She
And-
has 2 buddies, right?
Yeah, and people who followed the fiction in No Quarter will recognize this guy. And he also he figures, Vasco, he figures prominently in the Acts of War.
Yeah.
series.
Is he in Max War 3? I can't remember off the top. I think he is, yeah.
He's in there. And more in the second book, I believe.
Yeah.
So he's great, and then she's got another new character who's another duelist, and so it's a really exciting, fantastic unit.
Yeah,
So-
and there'll be more coming on National Theory. We haven't actually announced the name of this new character yet. We will in the future. But yeah, the idea that I love that the Lock and Load attendees changed her from being a Cavcaster
completely changed it.
to 3 small-based models and being a Warcaster unit. And she plays, like we have 2 versions of her in the master database now, right? We have an old version that we'll never use,
Right.
which is the Cav version. And then we have this new super duelist champion of the people. And that is very much in her and how she plays, as she is leading her troops to battle, but she's also at the forefront just hacking dudes down the whole time, right? And it's a very dynamic and very aggressive style of play. I think people are going to be really excited when she comes out. According to Twitch chat already, people are very happy that she's dropping. And we even have the render of the model ready because she's coming out in March.
Yeah,
You're going to be seeing her real soon.
It's just a few months away. It was a great experience because we really thought we had this idea well formed, and there was a little bit of a lot of discussion afterward, right? Because the ideas that were put forth, we didn't end up actually really concepting, like drawing the character at Lock and Load, because we were talking about all kinds of stuff, and the thing went like an hour longer than it was supposed to.
Right.
And but everything in it really stuck with me, and then I went back to Jason Souls and was like, we have to talk about this character.
Right.
And at first it was, it wasn't going to happen, and then we slowly broke him down until we
And now
got
we're
this
there.
character, and then we got it. Yeah.
Yeah. One other thing we wanted to show real fast, and we've had such natural segues this whole time, Tony. Like we've just been segging from Tony to segment, but we don't have one for this. Here's Bling Bamfist. It's cool. So the new Riot Quest OP model, right now it's Bling Gubbin. We just wanted to show this real fast, and we should have talked about it during the Riot Quest section, but we got too excited and moved on. We want everyone to know that when Bling Gubbin runs out, the Throwdown OP kits are also changing over, and you're going to see Bling Bamfist becoming the new model. I just realized that he's got the giant $.
I just saw that.
At some point, Matt, I want to talk to you about doing a Bling model that has like a Flava Flav style giant clock, but it's a clockatrice that it's wearing from Grimkin.
A giant
clockatrice.
golden
Clockatrice, yeah.
Yes.
We'll talk about it later.
We say no more.
Greenlit live.
Done.
All right,
Approved.
Save this clip. We're going to need it later. All right. There's one last thing we want to talk about, and we're getting towards the end of the hour, and a lot of people, their lunch breaks are ending, but it's a big thing, and that's Warcaster. So Warcaster Neo-Mechanika, we talked about at the keynote. We mentioned it, and we haven't said a ton since then. So first off, the big question is, when can people expect to hear more? When are we peeling back the curtain to really start showing Warcaster stuff?
Our big announcements for it are going to come in probably the latter half of January.
Okay.
So we're real deep right now in development, in the concept artwork, in sculpting the different models for the starters and everything. And we want to make sure that when we show it off, that we really are able to show off what it's going to look like, how it's going to play. And that's about a month and a half away.
Okay.
So it's shaping up to be really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
It has its roots in Warmachine and the Iron Kingdoms. As you know, it is a wildly different game.
Yes.
And it doesn't. I was here till almost 1 a.m. last night with Jason. We were playtesting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fun, right? There are great moments in it where we're really engaged, and it's a very fast game, very fast back and forth. So you don't have any time to check your texts or do anything else, right?
Yeah,
because you're constantly
just going back and forth, back and forth. Now, a lot of people have been wanting to, I know we're very deep in development right now, but I think we have an idea of what the scale of the game is at this point. And we mentioned at the keynote kind of a few numbers, but in your mind, like how many models are you usually seeing on the table at one time for each player? Like,
yeah, for each player, you're playing with 12 to 15 models. It's more of a skirmish scale of game. There's a lot of you're deploying things throughout the game.
And I mentioned that on a recent podcast. I was saying deployment in this game, initial deployment takes 5 seconds.
Yeah,
you literally go, boop. Then your forces are constantly deploying across the battlefield because we're not looking for a game where we meet in the middle and just clash. We want a game that uses the entirety of the board. Yep. And part of that is scenario objectives that you might need to get all across the board and the ability to appear all across the board, but your opponent can disrupt that. They can interact with and stop you and have counterplay so that you can't just show up willy-nilly anywhere. Like you have to kind of set it up and they have a chance to fight back. But then you can just start dropping guys anywhere.
Yeah, when we were playing last night, there's objective zones all across the board. We had the entire table. We're playing on a 4x4, and there were models all over it, and they're kind of all in their distinct skirmishes. There was a really hot zone right in the middle where it was very contested, and there was a lot of back and forth. And then meanwhile, we were fighting over these other areas, and that's kind of like, the way you described it is that's what we set out to do. Is let's use the whole table, right? We don't want to just meet in a line, crash in the middle, like two waves. We want it to feel like the battle's raging all over the battlefield, and that you can feel the tug of war over the various objectives.
The closest comparison I have is like to an RTS PC game where you can build your base and you can build a barracks as you went, right? And sort of like suddenly you have you began the game here, but suddenly you have the ability to put tanks and soldiers out over here, or you're getting resources from over here, and the battlefield is fluid the entire time.
Very, very fluid. There's a lot of churn, and you're trying to create, sort of a beachhead that then you can
and then try and hold this,
right? To try and hold this place, and it's that can be challenging in itself because of how quickly the game resolves the conflicts.
So a lot of people are wondering how we get from Warmachine to Warcaster, and sort of what is the connection between the two? Are we going to explore that in depth, or are we going to kind of just leave it alone? Like, are there Easter eggs people might notice? Like how obvious is the connection between the Iron Kingdoms we know and the future of Warcaster? Or is it more like vague and you have to pick up the hints?
If you're following the fiction, you will, and particularly this upcoming Henchhold scroll, that will take us to a place where you definitely see where the specific connection between Warmachine and the Iron Kingdoms and Warcaster and that setting is, right? There's a span of time in between that we're not going to touch for a while. But when Warcaster releases and you see the background, there's Easter eggs all over it that people who have followed the fiction and know the characters, they'll see that connection. They'll see the DNA from the Iron Kingdoms, and they'll see the influence of some specific characters that are part of the storyline and helped bridge that time and space between the Iron Kingdoms and the setting for Warcaster.
Now, one thing you said, just so that people don't get kind of mistaken, you said we're not going to touch the time in between, but it's 5,000 years. That doesn't mean Warmachine is ending.
Nope.
Even though we're going to reach the point that lets you know where the connection from Warmachine is to Warcaster, we've got plans. You and I just recently, I pitched a bunch of stuff, you greenlit it, for all the new Hordes faction releases coming out. And when I say Hordes faction releases, Hordes blocks of releases for existing Hordes factions, not a new Hordes faction. Just want to make sure that's clear. Coming in 2020, which we've got some really exciting, because this year was very War Machine heavy.
Yes.
You had the Convergence stuff coming out, Oblivion, the Infernals, Order of Elimination. So next year, once we kind of get through a lot of the Warcaster stuff, you're going to start seeing the beginning of a very heavy Hordes release cycle that's going to start exploring what all the Hordes factions are doing in response to the Infernals showing up. Yeah. And this is going to occur after this point in time you're talking about, that is the connection point between War Machine and Warcaster.
Right, yeah. And the best way to think about it is the storyline is sort of an off-ramp from the War Machine freeway.
Got it.
Takes us over to Warcaster, right? But this freeway keeps going.
Keeps going. So. Yeah. Cool. So late January, people should expect to see the curtain get peeled back and their first real look at models, concept art, rules, like Warcaster.
Yeah, we will do a full unveiling in January.
Awesome. So we went a little bit longer than we normally did. Normally, we would take a few seconds to kind of talk to chat and get through some people's questions, but we know we've gone a little bit over an hour and people have lunch and family to get back to. So we're just going to call the show here. Thanks for being on, Matt.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, and thanks all of you for joining us and watching. Join us tomorrow at 10 a.m. for the dev chat with myself and Oz, where we'll be showing you your first look at the new season of Champions ADR. Then get your paint on with Jordan this Thursday. Until next time, everybody, take it easy, and we'll see you next time. Bye.